What's going on, everyone? It's Jamie. Wanted to knock out a quick live training for you guys just to cover a couple of things that have been on my mind recently. This was actually prompted by someone in my Facebook group, Obi, love your work, who asked, it's all very well seeing all the offers that you put out that make cash, but what about the ones that don't? I'd like to hear you talk a little bit more about those. And in the interest of transparency, I thought I would pull the curtains on a couple of things and just talk very openly about some of the things that don't necessarily always go according to plan from a business perspective, and more specifically about when you are putting out offers to your audience and having this kind of perhaps a false expectation built through marketers such as myself around the success rates of the offers that you throw out to your audience. So just to clear a couple of distinctions, there often talk in my content about crafting an offer. What I mean by that is basically if this is the thing that you're promoting over here, which is apparently a fist for some reason, it's basically how you gift wrap that to send that to the marketplace, to present that to the marketplace, right? So if we think that that is the actual product itself, so my random little fist thing here, and this is obviously very applicable if you're an affiliate marketer, if you are a coach, if you're selling anything at all online. It's not necessarily the product itself. It is how you are gift wrapping that and then presenting that to the marketplace, right? And that's what we call an offer. Now, there's a slight distinction here because if you are referring to making an offer to your audience, the two kind of somewhat different things. One is basically, like I say, how you would present something to the marketplace. The other one is making an invitation for someone to be part of your opportunity, right? So slightly different distinction there, just to clarify a couple of things there. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you are lobbing out an offer to your audience, and that's what I mean, you're inviting folks to be part of your opportunity. There could be a low ticket, high ticket, a free coaching call, a paid coaching call, a strategy session, whatever you want to call it. It could be absolutely anything, right? I could even say, for example, hey, go check out jamiegardner.com if you want access to my free community. There's a link below there, or alternatively, just type it into your browser and head over to grab the free community and all the goodies that are contained within that. Just made an offer, right? It was a verbal one. And so there's just a way to basically get your audience involved with these things, right? So the reason why I say that is because if I go and put an offer out there to my audience, I say, hey, guys, I've got this really cool thing coming up, this big launch. It's going to be really cool, blah, blah, blah. This is the problem that it solves for, and here's how you can get access to it. And this is when it's open until, this is when it's closing, and this is how many spots are available, right? So that's my offer to the audience. And the thing is, not all of them are going to land. Not all of them are going to make a ton of cash along the way. I would say, if you've got a large personal brand, then you're probably going to have more sales come through, right? So even if you do a really rough job at crafting an offer and your copywriting sucks and your presentation isn't that great and the equity that you have in your audience isn't that great, but you have a big brand, then you're still going to sell stuff, right? It's as simple as that. If you are using some timely principles, deadlines, urgency, scarcity, and actually a decent offer that people want, right? A bleeding net solves a bleeding net problem, as we say in copywriting, is basically where someone needs to get it solved right now, basically. So if you've got that and you've got something that solves for that problem and you're leveraging timeless marketing principles, having a deadline, reducing the numbers, if you've got a small audience, tends to work really well. You're creating your own sort of economic environment through supply and demand. And then you're forcing the selling process into a promotional cycle, like a given time frame, works really well, right? So you're probably going to sell pretty much every time you do that if you've got a large personal brand. For folks like myself, one of the reasons why I've been able to make tons of cash out of having a very, very small audience, specifically 1,500 subscribers in my email list, got nearly 10K subs here, not really an engaged audience, would you say, on YouTube, 5,300 people in my Facebook group. That's about it, right? That's pretty much my main sort of sources of audience, at least anyway. A few people on Instagram, but again, I made a fatal mistake. Someone promised me that they could help with getting organic leads. And I woke up one morning after paying this person and there was, 10,000 people on my Instagram account. So hard lesson to learn. So, I don't have an engaged audience there, despite what the numbers might tell you, right? Anyway, so why am I telling this? Because if you can understand this principle that making money out of a small audience is incredible, because then when your audience grows, you're going to be so much better at it than you would be if you were just waiting for your audience to grow, right? But anyway, to my point, not every offer is going to land. right? That was where I was going with all that. If you have a large audience, it's easier to sell, even if you suck at all those aspects of it. If you've got a small audience, you need to be a little bit better at your copy, at having a problem that people would pay for, right? Something that they, like I say, a bleeding neck problem that they would pay not to have to do anymore, right? You need that in place. You need a great offer. You typically need some semi-decent copy. Need a lot of enthusiasm behind that as well to create that energy around yourself as a brand in order to sell the thing and basically encourage folks to jump into it, right? So you kind of need these aspects in place. I would say out of all the offers I put out, I'm going to say maybe 50% land, maybe 60% on the upper side, which then means that there's about 40% that don't land. And I'll give you a really good example. Recently, I put a bundle offer together, and reminds me I need to update the prices. Completely forgot about that. Anyways, I put a bundle together, and so if you go to jamiegardner.com/scale, there's a list of the majority of the workshops, programs, courses, things like that I've put out over the years, and it's not entirely exhaustive. There are other ones there as well that are kind of behind the scenes, or just like a Google Doc, or access to certain things and whatnot. So it does need to be updated. I do need to update those prices. Thank you for reminding me, Brain. But I put a bundle together, and so the idea was, it was very incongruent. Like I did put a lot of thought into it. It just didn't come out that well. And so the idea was for I think it was like $150. You could get access to any 4 of my workshops, programs, courses, anything, right? And a one-on-one call as well with me, which I normally charge $500 for as well. It's my going rate for my one-on-one time per hour. And you could get access to 4 of my high converting programs that have sold tens of thousands worth of digital products before, plus helping thousands of people out, or hundreds at least anyway. And you can get those, any 4 you chose, plus an hour with me to help map out your business for $150, right? Insane value, absolutely insane value. Now, I pushed this. I thought it would actually sell really, really well. And I put a cart page together, put the things together, started creating a couple of Google Docs and a bit of content out there. And I was quite enthusiastic about it. I thought it would go really, really well. I thought, cool, I'll put this offer out there. It will just sell like hotcakes. And it sold like cold cakes. The opposite of hotcakes. It did not really sell at all. In fact, the first day I was like, oh, hello. This is, I thought it would be at least a trickle, maybe 1 or 2 people would hop on it, because like I say, it's an insanely good offer. I thought, perhaps not. Perhaps the market didn't think it was that great after all, right? Anyways, I put it out there. It made absolutely nothing day number 1. Okay, so what do we do when an offer doesn't work? Now, we have to push to the end, into the finish line, okay? Because that's the most uncomfortable part, is if you put something out there and it doesn't sell, you're like, oh, it's embarrassing. But it's not. It's just data. You're collecting data, and then you look at it objectively. You remove your own emotional state. You look at it objectively. You go, what the fuck was I doing? What didn't go right? Whatever, right? Anyways, I thought, you know what? I need to heed my own advice here. I'm going to push this to the very end as much as I can. So I did. I pushed it a little bit. Next couple of days. Lo and behold, finally, a trickle of sales happened. And I woke up in the morning, I'm like, cool, there we go. It's, a little bit of cash. That's brilliant. Go me, yay. And what happened next was I thought, okay, well, I've got 1 sale, right? So that's cool. 1 sale, and hopped on the call with the person. They grabbed a bunch of stuff, blah, blah. End up making another sale. Like, great, this is cool. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to cap out the numbers now. And so I said, cool, there's 5 spots, a total of 5 spots available. 2 have already been taken. There's 3 left. And then bang, it didn't pop off in the next piece of content that I put out there. So I was just like, this is obviously not hitting the spot. I haven't put enough energy into it. It's kind of incongruent. I think when you allow someone to make a decision for themselves, they don't. So it's like, hey, you can pick any 4 of this lucky dip over here, and you get this other thing over here. And whereas in reality, that causes confusion in the buyer's mind. It's like, oh, there's too much stuff. What do I want? What do I get? So they didn't really see it as a great opportunity the way that I thought it was going to be a great opportunity. So, lesson learned. I have seen other bundles sell really well, so I was a little bit confused to start with. But going back to the drawing board, I looked at it. I'm like, okay, I can probably tweak that, put a bit more energy into that, build some more hype around it here, there, and everywhere. And also for me, it was really just a way to basically stop underselling things, right? I get this feedback all the time from my customers and my clients, like, why are you selling this for so cheap? Why is Ultimate Marketing Mastermind only $1,500? Like, it should be at least $5,000. What are you doing? Why is your Sanctum of Success? Why can you get access to you twice a week and an incredible community for $100 a week? Like, that just does not make sense for the value that you get as part of that. Why isn't it $10,000, right? So I get this feedback on a very consistent basis, but therefore that's why I was so confused. Like, why is it fucking thing I'm like buying? So that's one example. I had another one a little while back where, what was the offer for? Can't even remember now, actually. Might have been, oh, that's right. It was called the Daily Dose. Okay, and I created for my people inside my Ultimate Marketing Mastermind, I created a way for them to be able to derive daily leads from their audience, daily leads every single day. How many days do you want there? So it was a way for people to get daily leads, and I created the content for my people. I thought, I'm going to sell this as a module. I'm going to sell the module to an audience, basically, and it did okay. I mean, it was, it was okay. Like, it sold some spots, at least, anyway. I'm talking for a low ticket thing. Don't quote me, I think I might have had it like $37. Don't quote me on that, I have no idea. But daily sale, you would think you would want daily leads, right? Daily inbound leads. It's like the biggest pain point for most marketers is, where do I find the buyer leads? You don't. You create them through authentically helping them out with stuff like this here. That's what you do, right? Anyway, but having said that, I still call that a flop. I mean, it did make sales. We're not talking a huge bunch of sales, but it did make sales. But that's another example of something that absolutely flopped on its face as well, as far as I was concerned. There's other times where I've done little experiments. Here's one. Actually, recently, I was looking for an apprentice, and I hit the go button. I realized I'd inadvertently done something which really usually fucks me off so much when people do this. It's called a bait and switch. And I realized when I did it, and I was like, fuck, should have done that. And so basically what that was, a bait and switch, by the way, is effectively where you do something like you sell someone on the idea of, for example, hopping on a call, like a strategy session, and then you jump on the strategy session, and you're under the pretext that it's like some sort of exchange, like somehow you're going to, you're equal in the eyes of the other person as well, or whatever. You're going to chat about certain things, and then they turn it into a big sales pitch. And I've had this happen a few times because I'm a little bit naive about certain things. And it fucking pisses me off. I literally want to throw those people, because it's a waste of time and energy, and also it's just absolute utter bullshit in terms of getting a response out of that person, right? So I lose my shit at it. I really, really dislike it. Anyways, but I realized that I'd inadvertently done that, and it was totally not what I want to do. And the reason why is because I was looking for someone to be my right-hand person, basically. And as in, like, hey, I will work with you, and basically we'll be buddies, and I'll help you build a $100,000 plus per year business with like everything that's in my brain. You can just literally just extract it. It was for a one-on-one student, right? For $9,800. Access to my funnels, access to all the ad templates I'm currently running, access to just absolutely everything, right? But I didn't mean to make it come out like the way that it did. I just said, I'm looking for an apprentice. And so I got a huge response. I was like, cool, should be able to sell some of these. Sold nothing, right? I had some things happen, and I picked out clientele out of it that were looking to go do other things as well. But I didn't end up selling at all, like the 9,800. Might have been too pricey. I might not have put enough energy into it. Might not have been talking about the high ticket sales at as much at that time, which probably had one of the reasons why it kind of belly flopped. What else is there? Can't think of anything else. The things I don't sit there stewing on them, and it happens a lot. Like, I'll just delete a post. Oh, here's another one. There's one on my timeline I've left up. I'm looking for 5 affiliates that want to do XYZ. Fucking nothing, right? I got 12 likes. I DM those folks. Thanks so much for liking my stuff. Any interest in this? Donuts, fucking whatever, right? And so the point that I'm trying to make with this is that it's not just about going out there and randomly volume shooting your way to putting out offers, right? But you got to think of it like this. You got to look at the numbers and focus on the metrics, right? So here's an example. Most folks are aiming for the magical 10K per month mark, which It's a beautiful place to be, by the way. I highly recommend everyone who starts an online business gets to that point at some point. It's amazing. But what happens is they go out there and they're like, oh yeah, but 2 things are missing. Really? What 2 things could they be? Well, I've got my offer dialed in, so it looks really nice and it's pretty, right? Okay, cool. You got an offer. That's cool. What else? What is missing? What are you not getting at here? What's happening? Where are your leads? I don't really have any leads at all. No leads. Okay. Do you think you might need some leads to make some offers to, right? To get in front of folks? Then the other one is, if you think about it from a mathematical perspective, and I'll preface this by saying, or as I recently had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and she said, is it preface or preface? Anyway, side note. Anyways, so I'll preface this by saying I'm the worst mathematician in the world. I worked in a very complex branch of finance, and the joke between us all at that time was we'd go out for dinner, bearing in mind in Australia, it's not a tipping country typically. It's a tough job. But we'd have a bill and it'd be like $100 and there'd be 4 of us and we'd be like, oh, how do we split this up? Is it? But yet we'd deal with these huge big figures all day, like algorithms and billions of dollars exchanging hands. It was pretty crazy. Anyways, why do I say that? Because I can't remember what was my train of thought. Oh yeah, that's right. So it's a numbers game, right? It's metrics. So you're aiming for 10K per month and you've got no offers out there. How are you going to hit 10K per month? Right? You're magically hoping people are just going to DM you. And it does happen from time to time. I literally just put up a post of someone that cold DM'd me. 4 messages later, they jumped into my $5,200 coaching, right? It can happen like that sometimes, but you can't rely on it. You can't rely on that happening. And so you've got to think about it this way. If our close rate, and say you've got a really dialed in freaking awesome offer, it'll convert about, let's say 30% for an engaged audience that are actually looking to reach out to you to get the access to the information, right? Around about 30%. That's on the very high side. But if we look at some very, very low metrics, let's say it converts at 10% of a warm, engaged audience that's been consuming your stuff, blah, 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 right? Then that means that we need to have $100,000 worth of offers out there at any given time in order to make our 10K worth of per month, basically. Right, 100K, 10% conversion rate, $10,000. And most of you don't have that out there. You don't have $100,000 worth of offers out there. And then I ask you, well, how are you going to sell anything? They'll DM me. All 100,000 of them are going to any moment now. I know that's the thing. They're going to DM me. And so that's the thing. You got to look at the metrics that way. And then what that does is when you are looking at those numbers in that fashion, then it removes the sense of self out of the equation as well. And that's one of the things that is very, very hard to do, to detach yourself from this equation as a personal brand, because we are a personal brand. We notice if people disappear from our audience, or that they don't like us, or the trolls leave a mean message, or they don't watch our YouTubes, or whatever it is, right? We notice all that stuff. So therefore, we often attach that to our sense of identity. But if we don't, if we look at the metrics of our business, that's when we detach. Because we're just focused on the numbers. Because it's not about us, not personal. It's just that maybe our offer isn't dialed in. Maybe our mechanism of conversion just needs some work. Maybe the traffic source is not what it's cracked up to be, right? Maybe we're not getting enough inbound leads. We're not getting leads at all. Right? If we're not getting leads, all that can be fixed, because it's all down to metrics. If we understand that, we can work on these things as we go through. It's going to make life a lot easier. So anyway, that's it. Bit of a ramble. So yes, to answer the question, yes, sometimes you put an offer out there and it doesn't work, especially when you have a smaller audience. It's not quite as applicable. I've seen some folks with some really big audiences and their copy isn't great. Their offers aren't even written that well. They don't have any fancy things. Their video content isn't even like super polished, anything like that. But they have that intimacy with their audience because their audience has been seeing them around for so long and they've been getting so many results for their students that they just want to work with them. They believe that they can help them out. And so because of that, it's easier to monetize. So you're going to have less fault and less offers that don't hit the mark when you have a bigger audience. When you've got a smaller audience, you're going to have more that don't quite hit the mark, right? And that's why we leverage things like supply and demand and urgency, scarcity, and all that timeless marketing stuff, which works exactly the same as it would with a large audience, but we need to be a little bit more polished with it with a smaller audience, and that is the main difference there. So anyway, all that being said, hopefully you guys got some benefit from this. Like I say, I just wanted to go a little bit transparent with you guys because it often gets misconstrued. I think a lot of people think that as soon as you put something out there, bang, it instantly makes a bunch of cash. And then you see evidence for it, right? Because the marketers that are doing well, they've probably gone through this process of testing a few things out and refining, and a few things don't go according to plan, and they delete a few things here and they'll add a few things here and they'll try some stuff. And that's the thing. And when you, like I say, remove yourself from that equation, you look at it from a metrics perspective, man, it becomes so much easier. Then all it is just dialing in the numbers as you go along, right? You start to see how things are looking from an overarching basis. So anyway, guys, that's it. Hopefully you got some value from this. Head over to jamiegardner.com if you want to check out what I'm up to and grab the free training from my community. It's about 12 minutes long. It shows you how you can grow and monetize any community online and how I've been able to do that for literally hundreds of students at this point, all of which are amazing people, probably. I don't know. Yeah, you are. Just kidding. Love you guys. Anyways, thanks for joining me. See you in the next one.